Because by casting James Mason as Humbert Humbert, Kubrick was able to do away with any suggestion of coarseness in the character. You know that in American films dealing with the Roman Empire, we almost have a patent on playing decadent Roman emperors, we British. Because I think the accent refines the dirt out of the thought. And Mason gives a very sharp-edged, a very sardonic, and a very funny performance. He underplays it, which is of great help indeed to the comedy of the film. But casting Shelley Winters was also an inspired idea, I think. I think she gives her best performance ever in this film. She's a blend of bossy momism, where her daughter's concerned, of 10-cent intellectualism, desiring to impress this cultured gentleman from Europe, of women's club energy, and at the same time of sexual greed. And she really does brilliantly. Sue Lyon, there were various opinions about when the film came out. Some said she's too old for a 13-year-old girl, and I think that's probably true. Sometimes she looks in her mid-teens, and sometimes indeed she looks in her early 20s. But there's a reason for that too. Because when you're reading the book, you're reading it with your mind's eye. But in the film, it's the camera's eye. And the camera does strange things to people, particularly when they've got not to look too young. And the other great, brilliant set piece of the film is Peter Sellers, who plays Claire Quilty, the enchanter, the ogre, the other sexual lover of Lolita, who steals her away from Humbert Humbert. It was the first collaboration between Kubrick and Peter Sellers. As Claire Quilty, the decadent playwright, he eyes people as if he's casting them for some private orgy of his own. And then later on in the film, he appears to Humbert Humbert as a cop at a policeman's convention. I mean, can you imagine any worse background whenever you are anxious to get your hands on a 13-year-old girl? Insinuating some very threatening innuendos into the relationship between Humbert Humbert and Lolita. And lastly, he appears as Lolita's psychiatrist counselor on campus, a mid-European called Dr. Zempf, chairbound. And you can see in that the genesis of the German called Dr. Strangelove, who appeared literally chairbound in the film that Kubrick was to make a couple of years later. Altogether, Lolita is a very successful film. Whether it's a completely successful version of the book is another matter. But I think its great success lies in one thing, how, by adopting all these different tones and transpositions from book to film, Kubrick was able to make one man's obsessional perversion into something that approximated to the folly of mankind.